Robert, welcome to all those who are listening for the first time, and welcome back to all those particular people that tune in all of the time. Welcome to our ADAP chamber. Welcome to our digital pyramid. My name is Ram Hotep L, and I'll be your master of ceremony. On this particular episode, I want to discuss the different dimensions and understanding the different planes of existence. I got a question from a brother that was watching one of my videos called What It Means to Be Fourth Dimensionally Rich. And in his question, he made me think that I need to put out more videos helping people to enter and understand what exactly does dimensions mean in the first place. Before you can understand what it means to be rich and fourth dimensionally rich, you have to understand what does it mean to what is a dimension in the first place, and how are the dimensions separated. See, a lot of people when they think about dimensions, they like to think about levels, and they think about like level 3, level 4, and they think about it like going up a ladder. And this is a mind state that you're going to have to get out of if you want to understand the dimensions. Because in reality, all the wise masters know, and shout out to the master Tahuti, you know who you are, but all the wise masters know that there is no up, there is no down, there is no left, there is no right. Because in the physical realm, all is an illusion. That's right, all is an illusion. And in the physical realm, we get locked into what's called having an understanding. And this is why we look up and we look down like levels, because when you have an understanding, that means you're looking up to something because you're under it. And that means you're looking down on something because you may be over it. But you have to learn how to understand dimensions. You have to really learn how to have either an overstanding or an understanding. And this is the only way that you're really going to get into understanding or over understanding the dimensions. Because the dimensions, for one thing, exist from within. You have to go within to tap into most of them. Now, in the dimensions, you deal with, first thing you have to understand that we're in what's called the third dimension. Third dimension. And this is the highest dimension when you talk about physical reality or being locked into a shape. This is the highest level of reality. Now, you have what's called the fourth dimension, which takes you into the mental plane. And on this episode, I'm going to do a lot of talking about universal law, because you cannot understand how to go into and tap into other dimensions unless you first understand universal law. And the fact that we're in the third dimension means that we are a physical, a mental, and a spiritual being all formed together and amalgamated together very strangely. As one of the wise teachers said, we are strangely mixed with spirit, matter, and mind. That's right, spirit, matter, and mind. So you have to understand that this is what the third dimension is all about. The third dimension is a compilation of spirit, which can go into emotions, because spirit is a form of energy, and there's different forms of energy. So the third dimension is comprised of these three things. You have to understand that. So when you really speak of going to a higher dimension, we talk about we need to make a shift, a change. And we talk about this great shift of the ages and this shift of consciousness. This is why everybody is becoming spiritual now, because they want to make the shift. They want to get out of being stuck in the third dimension of what's called person, persons, places, and things. See, everything on the dimensions happens in threes, if you notice. It all happens in threes. And you have the first dimension, second dimension, and third dimension. They all go hand in hand. The first dimension may be organisms and things of that nature. The second dimension may be creatures of water and things of that nature, going into the second degree or second phase. And then the third dimension may be physical beings, which is really a compilation of, or compound beings is what we are, which is a compilation of, and even other ETs, which is a compilation of organisms, water, and matter, or earth. So that's the first thing you want to understand. Now, to get on the higher levels of understanding dimensions, you have to understand this, that you can be in the fourth dimension and experience the fourth dimension while still being in a physical body. Actually, this is true for dimensions 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6. You can, all dimensions go together within threes. Just like the first dimension, second dimension, and third dimension go together, or the fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and sixth dimension go together. And in this video, I'm not going to talk about 7, 8, and 9. I'm going to stick to 4, 5, and 6, because this is where we are headed over the next hundreds of thousands of years even. This is where we're trying to get to. You can't really talk about the 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension if you haven't even experienced the 4th, which I know many of you aren't. You'll see after this video that many of you aren't, because look at the existence on this planet. Look at the reality on this planet. You're not even in the 4th dimension. So you have to understand this, that even certain ETs and extraterrestrials, so you think about ETs, you say, I want them to physically show up, and I want to see some physical ETs, this, that, and the third, when, just like I told you in one video, you may be looking at extraterrestrials on television, sometime even in person. Your boss may be an extraterrestrial. But the thing is that extraterrestrials, they're physical extraterrestrials, and then there are higher dimensional, which are called dimensional beings, or dimensional extraterrestrials. And these extraterrestrials that are dimensional beings, they're not locked into 3D or third density. So if you're looking to find some physical extraterrestrials that you can hug and touch, you got to understand that you're dealing with a being that is not, they may be just one step up above you. This is not the highest level of extraterrestrials, because anything, if it was truly a higher level of extraterrestrial, it wouldn't be a genetically modified organism. Like I was building with a particular sister on Facebook, and she was making me think, shout out to her, you know who you are. We were talking about genetically modified organisms, and I've been thinking about that a lot. And if you're a physical being in general, you are a genetically modified organism, because you're stuck in a certain physical reality that was modified or cloned or tweaked to get to the stage of where it's at today, which is a degree. So even if you're extraterrestrial, like a reptilian is a genetically modified organism. There's different classes of reptilians, and to see the physical ones, if you truly want to see them, I'll tell you how to do it. It's simple. You have to be able to get into the center of the earth. If you want to see some of the other physical reptilians that may look different, you know, that may look like Bigfoot. Like I've seen a Bigfoot in Inman Park. One time I saw a Bigfoot. And I'm not going to go into too much of that, but I've seen physical reptilians just like I've dealt with dimensional reptilians. I prefer to deal with the higher dimensional reptilians, because if you've ever been in the presence of a physical monster type looking extraterrestrial, you wouldn't really want to deal with that anyway, because you don't know what's going through that thing's head. If he's looking at you or she's looking at you as food, or a potential enemy, or anything like that, you don't really know. It's just like dealing with animals. Like, I mean, that's just like saying I want to see a saber-toothed tiger. You don't really know what that saber-toothed tiger is all about. You don't know what that saber-toothed tiger is thinking. Most likely you do. It's thinking about eating you, your food. It's very vicious, very much a predator, which means to predate. You notice, you look at the term predator, you see the term predate, which means it predates our existence. But anyway, so you're going into the higher dimensions, you have to understand that as physical beings, we are trying to shift our physical reality into experiencing higher dimensions while still being physical. This is very important. It does not mean that we're going to leave the physical body and totally be in 5D. You're going to still be in your physical shell. You're going to have to learn how to live in 4, 5, and 6D while still being in the physical shell. Now, you can. That's right, you can be in 4, 5, and 6D without being in a physical shell. But with this, two things would have to either happen. You're either going to kill yourself and leave the physical body, or I mean, you might not kill yourself, somebody's going to murk you or whatnot, or you're going to have to be invited onto a craft or a ship, and they're going to have to do an experiment on you and teach you how to separate yourself from the physical body totally while experiencing these different realities and be able to shift as you separate yourself. You're going to be able to take your physical body and through a process of mental alchemy and emotional alchemy, you're going to have to be able to transmute your body into a higher octave, which means you take your whole body with you to another dimension, which means essentially your body's going to become different, which is kind of similar to a death. Very similar to dying in order to do this process. This is not a process that you just lay down on your bed and do. So what I am going to teach people on this episode and other episodes is how to do this and experience this while in this body and while in this particular paradigm and in this reality. In order to understand how to shift yourself to other dimensions, whether it's financially, whether it's relationship-wise, because these things are going to apply to all levels, whether it's on a level of education and learning, whether it's dealing even with your higher life purpose. You can shift that to different dimensions. People always ask me, well, what's my life purpose? Which dimension are you on? Which dimension are you trying to be on? See, the fourth dimension, I help you to understand them, deals with the mind. See, everything starts with the mind. You can't even get anywhere past 4D unless you first understand, overstand the mental reality. The fifth dimension deals with spirit. Deals with spirit. And you cannot understand the fifth dimension unless you fully understand spirit. See, everything has a spirit. I'm going to help you to understand this on a deeper level. So bear with me. Now the sixth dimension deals with soul, or light that's actually dark. Because you can't get it twisted now. When I say light, don't think that I'm talking about, because you're like, well, there's lights. I'm looking at lights to watch you, so I'm in the sixth dimension. Yes. No. There's light here, but you perceive this light. But the sixth dimension, its light appears as though it's dark. You're speaking of darkness now. Some people call it triple darkness. And to understand the sixth dimension, you have to understand how to perceive this light, because there's no such thing as darkness. Remember, I taught you this in other videos. There's no such thing as darkness. There's just light that you can't perceive and colors that you can't perceive because your eyes, you're blind. We're blind on a lot of levels. This is why a lot of people don't see certain things. Like, how come I can't see beings around me, and how come I don't see this and that? It's because you're blind. How come I don't hear this and that? It's because you're deaf. Yeah, you might hear me talking, but you're deaf. You can't hear on a higher vibration, which is what I'm about to go into in a minute. So to understand these dimensions, if you want to get in them, now you have to understand the 9 universal laws. And I'm only going to reveal 7 here. I'm not going to go into 8 and 9 for a reason, because a lot of people aren't initiated. I can't take you into 8 and 9 unless you're initiated. They don't even talk about 8 and 9 in a lot of the books. You see, a lot of you aren't initiated into the order of Tahuti. So you won't even understand. It's like in the order of Tahuti, he always teaches us not to cast pearls before swine. And I'm not calling you a pig or anything like that. I'm not trying to make fun of you, no pun intended. I'm not looking down on you at all. It's just that I can teach you something that's really high, and it will be a waste of my time and a waste of your time, because you would only get more confused. So I would rather stick to the first 7 laws and then go into 8 and 9 at another time, maybe. So everything is mental. This is the first universal law. On all dimensions, everything is mental. Everything comes out of the mind. Well, the mind actually, your mind, is in submission to the mental. This is very key. That's right, your mind is in submission to the mental. Because there is a mental reservoir that governs the universe. We call this the all, or El Kulun in the ancient Egyptian language. This is called the all, is what we would call it. And this, everything, every god, everything, even every thought, every emotion is subordinate to the mental reservoir. So in order for you to experience certain dimensions, you have to learn how to tap into the mental reservoir, the universal mind, which has a lot to do with the Zodiac. Has a lot to do with the Zodiac. The Zodiac is a circle. This is the universal mind for this solar system, because it goes even higher than that when you talk about the all. The all on this solar system is not necessarily the all in other solar systems or other star constellations, but we're not going there right now because I don't want to go too deep. So in this solar system, the mental reservoir is the Zodiac. This is the mind and how things manifest. This is why the Zodiac is the highest form of what's called Ha-Ka. Some people call it He-Ka. Like ha, like you have an aha moment. An aha moment is a magical moment. This is a part of the ancient Egyptian language. This was a word, ha. Their words were very primitive, like ha. And then ka, going into creative spirit. This is what this translates into. Some people say there were 7 creative spirits, or 7 Elohim. And this goes into the 7 universal laws, actually. So this is what we're taking you into. And this is how the Elohim, see, this is how they create. It's a whole nother level. You have different classes of beings. You have Yahwehs, Elohims, Netters, different classes of beings. And I'm not going to talk about that here because I don't want to confuse you guys. So the 7 universal laws. The first one is mental. Tapping into the mental reservoir. This is what you must do if you want to get into understanding the 4th dimension. You have to tap into the mind of the 4th dimension. And the 4th dimension deals with force. This is called the plane of force, where things happen based on different laws. You have to attract things. Things function differently. But what I'm going to do, you're going to understand each dimension as I go into each universal law. You'll understand each dimension naturally. The mental reservoir corresponds with spirit in the 5th dimension, because on the 4th dimension it may just be mind. You may be using your thoughts to attract things. But on the 5th dimension you have to learn how to use your breath or your emotions to attract things. And on the 6th dimension, you have to learn how to perceive things in darkness and find the light in darkness to attract things. So this is when you know you're in the 6th dimension. And all of these can have to be experienced in meditation, which you'll understand why in a second. Now the 2nd universal law deals with the doctrine of correspondence. Correspondence. So when you're in the mind, the universal mind of the all, if you want to manifest in this realm, there's a certain way you have to manifest in this realm. Just like in our dimension, we manifest, well, a lot of people do that are not into these sciences. They manifest by going out to do things or going out to get things, and you have to move a lot to get a lot. And you have to move and go get and go out. Well, once you start understanding universal laws, you learn about what's called the law of correspondence. And everything in this universe corresponds to another. It's called synchronicity. So if I'm seeing certain numbers, people always ask me this, why do I see certain numbers? The significance of seeing the number 33, the significance of seeing the number 22. Why is this important? Why am I seeing these things? This is because these numbers correspond to a mental reality that you need to understand and grasp. If you're saying the number 33, I have a video on it, so I'm not going to go into it. This goes into a certain mindset that you don't have, that you need to grasp. So this is called correspondence. So what magicians learn how to do is that in magic we use correspondence. Like, I may use this, and this right here may just be a crystal to you or a mineral stone to you, but this can, if I put this on my altar and I program it, this can correspond to other things that are physical. Like this corresponds, a lot of people don't realize that I did a video on selenite, but this corresponds to over 55 different things. This corresponds to kundalini, this corresponds to material things, this corresponds to a lot of things, even though it's just this, but this corresponds to things. So if I put this on my altar, this is tapping into the law of correspondence, because I'm using this to bring things to me that correspond with it, without a lot of times going to look for them. These things should come to me through attraction. Remember, everything's done on the past 4D is an attraction. You have to attract them to you. You're already doing these things, but you're unconscious and unskillful with it. So this is why your life kind of is in a form of chaos. But out of chaos comes order. So don't feel bad about that. Now, let's go into the third one. The third universal law being vibration. And people, they think about vibration, they think about moving, being mobile. This is vibrating to most people. What you have to understand about vibration is this. When you understand science, you'll understand that when a certain form of material or matter, when it's the more spread apart its atoms are, or its molecular structure, the more further apart, like, the molecular structure has spaces in between each molecule or each atom. And the further that the spaces are apart, the slower the thing is vibrating. The closer that the spaces are together, the faster a thing is vibrating. This is why we deal with unity. We have to be close. Because the further you are apart from whatever it is whatever reality that you're trying to attract, the longer it's going to take for you to get it. The closer you are to getting it, as far as your vibration, your polarity, and the way you're functioning, the closer you are to that thing, the quicker you will attract this thing. And another thing you have to understand about vibration is that it has nothing to do with moving. Things that vibrate the swiftest in this reality are actually not moving to you. They appear to be not moving. This is very key. This is why, if you look at, say for instance, a jet, you're looking at a jet in the sky, and it's moving pretty fast. I mean, I don't know how fast they travel, but I think they travel like 300 to 400, 500 miles per hour. Somebody can correct me, give me the exact miles per hour of how fast airplanes travel, but they travel pretty faster than vehicles or cars. But this is why you can look up in the air and it looks like that jet is moving slow, like this. This thing's going 700 something miles per hour, almost faster than the speed of sound sometime, and it's moving like this. This is because it's vibrating so fast that it looks like it's not moving. The faster something appears to be moving in this reality, you gotta remember this is in this reality, the slower it's actually moving. You may look at a rat and it may run across the room. And it may look like it's running fast as hell to the point you didn't even get a chance to see it. You're like, damn, that thing was moving fast. But that thing wasn't really moving as fast as a car. That thing wasn't moving 60 something miles per hour, but you may see a car drive by. You see that car drive by, and it's going 60 miles an hour, and it looks like it's driving relatively slow. Because it's moving so fast, it appears to be moving slow. So to understand this on a higher octave and level, you have to understand vibration and meditation. Because this is how you get to the higher dimensions. And some of these dimensions, you have to be vibrating so fast that you won't be moving. You won't be moving to get into the fourth dimension. You cannot get there unless you go into the inner chamber, and you go into your breath. You don't move to get to these dimensions. It's not a place you look for, not a place you go, because here In the Matrix, physically, if you're looking for this place, you're going to be stuck in a maze, buddy. You're never going to find it because it's all an illusion. It's like, which way is up? Like my man Richard Pryor said. Which way is down? Which way is left? Which way is right? It's all dependent on you. My right now is your left. See? This is an illusion, buddy. That's the first thing. And in magic, we understand this. This is called, what I'm teaching here, this is called Haka. One of the highest forms of magic. Higher than your voodoo. We're going to do a video on weather, creating weather. You can use this to create weather. All kind of stuff. So you have to understand vibration. The third doctrine you must understand, or I'm sorry, the fourth doctrine you must understand is polarity. See, everything in this universe or in this physical reality has an opposite. And if you want to learn how to become the master of this realm of opposites, you have to tap into and understand the opposite of each polarity. Like this is a pole, right? This is basically a pole. This could be the negative side of polarity. This could be the positive side of polarity. You have to learn as a master how to exist in the middle. See, if you're too far over here, you're going to be stuck. If you're too far over there, you're going to be stuck. So you have to learn how to exist in the middle to understand every aspect of that pole, or both aspects of that pole. So say, for instance, let me give you an example, because you have to use polarity to get into attracting a lot of times through these dimensions. So say, for instance, we talked about being fourth dimensionally rich, so I'll use that because everybody wants money, everybody wants to be rich and things like that. You have to understand that being rich is just the opposite of a pole, which is a lot of times being poor. We would say being poor is the opposite to being rich. So if you want to understand how to be rich, you got to know what it is to be poor. You have to understand both sides of the equation and to become a master in it, and not to become a victim in it, because you could be rich and become a victim in being rich. I see it in people's natal charts all the time. You guys were rich in past lives, and that's why it's hard for you to attract in this life, because when you were rich, you became a victim. The money was too powerful for you. Just like there is a poverty consciousness. Some people are poverty conscious. They can never become rich because they have a poverty mentality. If you had $1 million, or what a poverty mentality is that a rich person has taste. The rich goes into like understanding food. And what makes a really, really rich person sophisticated and things of that nature. Remember I said really your health is your wealth, but just talking about money, a rich person has taste. And they know how to spend their money. A rich person cannot spend their money the same way a poor person spends their money. They can't do it. You can't keep your money the same or anything like that. Everything, the rules of the game change when you become a rich person, just like when you're a poor person, the rules are different. And then you have what's called the middle class, which is an illusion too. There is no middle class. You're either poor or you're rich. And to be fourth dimensionally rich, while we're talking about being rich, goes into your mentality. Has nothing to do with how much money you have. To be fourth dimensionally rich, just to answer the brother's question on video, deals with understanding your thinking. You have to understand that you have to mind your mind for the jewels of your soul, as the wise Tahuti teaches us. You have to mind your mind for the jewels of your soul. This means that in your mind, you're already rich, but you have to mind it to get to it. You have to understand that. So this is what it really means to be fourth dimensionally rich. Your thinking is what makes you rich. You have to have a wealth. This is why they say he has a wealth of knowledge, or she has a wealth of knowledge. This means that they have a stock of knowledge. If you have a wealth of knowledge, you're already rich. So to be fourth dimensionally rich could mean you just own a set of books, and that set of books is your ankh, or your master key. And this is the key to you opening up many doors that will lead you to many levels or many inner chambers of society. So this is understanding the law of polarity, understanding that everything has an opposite. Like everybody says, oh, I want to understand what it is. I want to be in love. So people say they've never experienced love, and they want to be in love. But you have to understand hate to understand love. Like they say, there's a thin line between love and hate. There is a line. pole. You have to understand both sides of the fence to really to understand love and to be able to make love. You have to understand hate. See, people, you gotta learn how to make love. You want to be in love, you gotta learn how to make it. All of these laws, you're going to notice that you can either become a victim to them, or you get blown around by them, or you begin to use Haka, this is what I'm trying to teach you, to be able to create your reality through these universal laws and through the Zodiac. Just like the opposite of Leo is Aquarius. Leo deals with the heart, and Leos can become too attached, whereas Aquariuses are more of a detached sign. Sometimes they can become too detached. So there's opposites. So a Leo is supposed to understand Aquarius to be balanced. Just like an Aquarius is supposed to understand Leo to become a balanced Aquarius. You have to understand both sides of polarity. Remember I told you that Zodiac, you can't get away from it. And Zodiac deals with all of these units. That is the mind. Just like different, like I can go through all the universal laws and tell you how the Zodiac deals with them. And that's what I'm supposed to be doing in this video. So even on the law of correspondence. In the law of correspondence, certain signs correspond to other signs, but then there's certain signs that don't correspond to other signs. And if you want to learn how to work magic through the Zodiac, you got to learn what signs correspond with other signs, so that you can attract, even when the sun is not necessarily in that sign that you're trying to attract through. The sun could be in a sign that corresponds with that sign. So Taurus may represent material things, and you're trying to attract material things. You may have to do it from Virgo, because Virgo corresponds with Taurus. So you may have to learn how to attract through Virgo, material things through Virgo, so you can get to the energies of Taurus without the sun being in Taurus. Very interesting science. This is how you attract. So you have to learn how to use the Zodiac to work for you instead of letting the Zodiac just blow you around, because it will do that. If you have no order, remember I said, out of chaos comes order. So you have to have order. It will be total chaos. Your life will be chaos unless you understand magic, certain mystical sciences. So it's the same thing with vibration. Certain signs vibrate at different speeds than others. This goes into their modality. You have a fixed sign. A fixed sign vibrates different from a mutable sign. A cardinal sign vibrates different from a fixed sign. These are all vibrations in the Zodiac. You have to understand these things. Now let's go to the next universal law, understanding dimensions, which will be rhythm. Rhythm. Rhythm goes into a beat. Like in music, you have what's called beats per minute. And they teach that what makes a hit is this certain, all hits were based on this certain beats per minute. Robin Thicke just put out this song. I forgot the name of it. He got into a lawsuit with, it was a lawsuit associated with this song. It was the last song that he put out. And I forgot the name of it, man. It slips me. Somebody out there may know. But Robin Thicke put out this song. He got a lawsuit or whatever behind this song. But the beat, what I'm getting at is the beat of this song. The beat of this song just matched another song that I think was put out by Marvin Gaye. And the Marvin Gaye's family sued Robin Thicke or something like that. I think they ended up winning. The Marvin Gaye estate ended up winning. But the bottom line is that it was the beat. That's what made that song a hit. And all hits have the same beat. This is going into understanding rhythm. You can use this even in meditation. You have to understand the rhythm to get to certain dimensions. Your energy is going to have to match a certain rhythm. So you're going to have to learn how to breathe on a beat. This is why I'm a good meditation coach, because I do meditation coaching, is because I understand beats and music. I was a musician. I grew up playing the violin when I was 4 years old. So I understand music. So I understand the beat and the rhythm, how to get to certain dimensions, because there's a code or a rhythm to get to different types of dimensions. You have to understand these things. So everything has a rhythm to it. Just like certain women. You want to understand, and going into sex, and I'm trying not to talk so much about sex because getting a lot of emails, wild emails, but I mean sex is spiritual though, so I shouldn't even have said that. There's nothing wrong with talking about sex and perspective. I mean, I know how to control my energy, and you should too. So, and you know, people that send me these emails know who I'm talking about I got a mate and this and that, and I can't stop thinking about you and blah blah blah. You need to learn how to control yourself. I know how to control myself. And if there's some type of an energy connection, just express it. I mean, so I'm not knocking you. Send me the email. Okay, you had a connection with me. You felt when I said this or that, you had a connection. You sent me this email or whatnot, and you felt connected to me or whatever because I said X, Y, and Z, and you don't understand why. Just express it. A lot of times that helps just to talk about it. It doesn't mean we have to lay down and have sex. You're married or whatever. Just express it. A lot of times instead of holding it in and feeling all like I don't understand this and getting all upset about it and I don't know, understand the energy that a lot of these women have when they send me these emails. Like, are you upset about the fact that you keep dreaming about me, or I don't know. And I'm not trying to be funny at all. I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm going to talk about sex, so I'm just preparing you, just real quick. Then we're going to go back to the spiritual part. So in sex, like certain women, they have orgasms based upon a certain rhythm. One woman's way she has an orgasm may not be the same rhythm as another woman. One woman's rhythm may be a little bit slower. Another woman's rhythm may be a little bit faster. This is why, as a male, you have to get into the matching the rhythm of a particular woman's body. So it's called the circadian rhythms. You have to understand all of that in order to make a woman come, if you will, or make her have an orgasm, or these things, whatever. So, just like the Earth, when the wise scientists create earthquakes, the Earth is like a woman. And when these scientists do weather manipulation, because they're doing it, they're getting into understanding the rhythm of the Earth. The Earth vibrates up under the rhythm. And these scientists that create the weather based upon the rhythm are tweaking that, manipulating that rhythm to cause certain weather catastrophes. So everything, to get into different dimensions, you have to understand rhythm. Now, next thing is cause and effect. Cause and effect. This is where a lot of people get stuck. Because most of you guys are victims to cause and effect. Like, you hear about it, you say, well, everything has a cause and effect. You learn this in science. Everything has an equal and opposite reaction. And if I hit this thing at a particular rate, if I punch somebody at a particular rate with my fist, his face is going to have an equal and opposite reaction. It's going to swing to this. That's the opposite reaction. And then what's going to come from it, it might swell up based upon that opposite reaction. If I take my 40 cal and I point it to your head and I squeeze the trigger and I blow your head off, that's force. That's tapping into the plane of force, and your head is going to have an equal and opposite reaction. Now you're like, Rom Hotel talking about weapons. Yeah, I'm an Egyptian G. No, I'm just joking. Got to keep it, funny, man, because, I mean, I got a lot of young people listening. Got to keep it interesting, so. But no, everything does have an equal and opposite reaction, or cause and effect. This is cause and effect, the same thing. So you have to learn how to be, in working Haka or Hika as a magician, you have to learn how to be the causer and to create an effect. And you have to learn that as a causer, you have to know those universal laws before it to understand how your effect is going to play out. Like you say, special effects on a movie. Well, somebody caused those special effects. Just like in music, you have effects. Somebody caused that. So a good person that's in music, or a good producer, understands he's a good causer. He understands this is why the producer really makes the music. And the MC does too. Don't get me wrong, they go hand in hand, so excuse me to all my MCs. But both of you guys. Because the MC has to know how to write on a rhythm so that he can get the certain effect through words to match up with the producer's beat. But a producer understands the cause and the effect. He's the causer. He's not victim. He's not a part of the effect. See, that's why some people, they can't make music, because they're too caught up in the after. They're too caught up in the effect. They don't understand music. A good musician hears it first and then plays it. And he hears whatever he hears, or she hears, she knows what, or he knows the effect that music is going to create. Like if he wants to make a gangster track, make somebody, want to go to war, like a warrior track, he's going to use certain trumpets and, use certain snares, certain drums to get you amped up in your spirit to want to go to war, like jungle type music. But then, you want to make a love making song, you're going to use more hi-hats. I mean, you're going to use more higher tones. You're going to use, like you might use softer instruments to create a love track. It might not have as much bass. Or sometimes it does have a lot of bass, but it's bass to where it seduces you. It's more of a seductive bass. the Isley Brothers. I'm thinking about the Isley Brothers for some reason on that. They have a lot of bass in their music because it seduces you in a certain way. So, yeah, you have to understand all of that. You have to understand cause and effect, and not to be a victim to it. Not to be a victim to it is understanding what your cause is going to affect. People say, I want to learn my higher life mission and purpose. What is your cause? This goes into cause and effect. You have to have a cause. Your higher life purpose is not just about money. You have to understand what type of money your cause is going to attract. You have to understand other universal laws before cause and effect. You have to understand vibration, polarity, all of these things before you can get into cause and effect. Because if you don't understand those universal laws that came before it, you're never going to be able to understand your effect, the effect that your cause may have on people. So cause and effect is very key in understanding the dimensions. If you want to learn how to manifest in certain dimensions, you have to learn how to tap into cause and effect. That's right, cause and effect. If I want to manifest money, but I'm in the fifth dimension, or I want to manifest substance or energy, because money is energy to exchange with other beings so that I can go to other levels and move around, I'm going to have to understand cause and effect. I'm going to have to understand if I'm imagining, say for instance, I'm imagining myself in a pyramid during meditation, how is this going to affect my meditation? This is a cause. So in order to be a good meditator, you have to understand cause and effect. And it goes a little deeper than that, but I'm just throwing it out there. You have to understand the images that you see in your mind. How is this going to affect your meditation? If you're sitting around thinking about food all day while you're meditating, how is this going to affect your meditation? Cause and effect. And then we go into the last universal law that I'll cover right now, because I'll cover others as I go into my chamber mode. This is my chamber mode right here. When I talk about these spiritual sciences, it's like you're in the ADEP chamber. This is like privileged information that you're getting, because it's being channeled. I didn't know I was going to say a lot of these things before I said it. This is coming from on high. I do the rituals and meditations before I even get on these videos to do these things. So I thank you guys for watching. Thank you. Now the last one we'll go into, gender. Every zodiac sign has a gender. Every realm has a gender. When we talk about, we're going into the feminine energy. This is going into gender. 4D is feminine. Why? Because you have to be more passive. That's right, you have to be more passive. 5D is masculine, actually. A lot of people don't realize that. Spirit is masculine. But 4D or mind is feminine. This is the feminine realm. So in order for you to even be introduced, because just because 5D is masculine does not mean you have to lose your understanding of what it means to be feminine. The feminine principle. You have to still keep that in mind, because that's the underlying basis of 4, 5, and 6. See, it starts off with the feminine principle. So in our reality, masculinity actually sets the tone. So even though we talk about the feminine principle and the physical, I'm talking about the physical now, you still have to understand the masculine energy. Because the masculine energy goes into, this is why our reality, everything is about going out. This is going to always be the basis of our reality. No matter how much you get into meditation, you're still going to have to, at some point, go out and till the earth and work the earth to grow food. This is masculine, because this is going out to do things. You could do this in the mind of feminine energy and become more successful at it. That's where the planet is going, because we're going to be in 4D, but we're still going to be physical. And I hope this is not confusing you. So even though we're going to be in 4D and we're going to be physical, we still have to understand femininity to manifest, because we'll have to be more passive in how we go out and do things. We'll have to use more magic in how we go out and manifest things. We'll still have to go out. After you work your spell, then you go out and you read it. So it's just like I'm writing a book. That's like writing a spell. Then I have to read it back, right? I have to read it back to myself. So we'll still, because we're still physical beings, so we'll still have to go out after we work our spell and see to it that our spell comes into fruition, which is which is masculine. So we're always been that masculine paradigm, but when you get into meditation, understanding the fourth dimension, fifth and sixth dimension is feminine, which means that it's nothing about going out. It's about laying down on that bed or laying down on that meditation mat or sitting in that meditation stance and putting your fingers in all these wild positions and doing all of this stuff and all of that so that you can bring down energy a certain way. It's all feminine. To work with certain crystals. These crystals aren't moving. They're not physical. I mean, they are physical, but they're not moving, but they're vibrating very high. Remember, I told you things that vibrate the highest aren't moving. So you might have to put certain crystals on you and see what kind of feeling you get from that. And it's working with a lot of abstract things to understand different dimensions. So that's going to do it for me. I hope this helped you to get some knowledge and clarity and gain some understanding on the dimensions. And I'll go ahead and shut this video down for now. And until we meet again, I'll leave you in Hotep Wadu.